Hello, my friends. A couple of people have asked me to speak on discipline. So I wanted to share a little bit today about that subject. I've had a long, bumpy road with discipline. So there's a lot I've learned about it. And of course, I'm going to twist this around and I'm going to suggest that there's something more powerful than discipline that we can use. But I really want to explain what discipline is, how we can maximize it in our life, and how we can make a small shift in our consciousness that will allow us to tap into this more powerful way of looking at the world or encountering the world. Discipline is an act of will. So if you're doing the sugar challenge right now, or taking on any other sort of thing where you are trying to look at your life and see how can you make positive changes, you're probably using discipline or willpower. Now, we all know that discipline and willpower, it fails us quite often. And that can be super frustrating. There's a lot of research done on it. And how it basically works is this. At least this is what the researchers are telling us, and this is really my personal experience too, is that your willpower or discipline is like a cup. And as you, let's say, try to not eat any sugar today, you're going to be draining that cup of its willpower energy. If you get to that bottom of that cup, you're going to succumb and you're going to eat that sugary food. Now, if you can succeed, if you can set up something in your life that you're going to succeed at, just make it through this one day without sugar, and you build up that system. So tomorrow your cup is a little bit bigger and a little bit fuller, and you have a little bit more willpower and discipline to use. Now, if you set up so that you're going to fail, you say, okay, I'm quitting tobacco use today, I'm quitting video games today, I'm quitting sugar today, and you set it up, and you get to the bottom and you find yourself in the evening with donuts playing a video game while you're smoking a cigarette, you've shrunk your cup a little bit. And tomorrow you're going to have not quite as much discipline. Set on default, most of us, our cup gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Those of us that are seriously training in our lives, whether that's as an athlete or a martial artist or meditatively, you're probably building up your cup day by day. But still, all of us tend to hit these challenges where we find that our cup gets drained down to the bottom. So understanding that, the good news is that if you can set up wisely so that you succeed and you utilize your willpower, you're going to build it up so it's a little bit stronger tomorrow. And keep building it up wisely like that. There is another tool that we have. And that, you've heard me talk about it before, that is surrender. That's what I'm using right now. So to be out in the winter like this, in my shorts, on the snow, barefoot, I could be fighting it, right? So that is, the essence of willpower is a resistance. And I'm just going to resist this sensation. Now notice when I'm resisting, I'm using up energy, mental energy. And that cup, it's draining. With surrender, I just feel the experience for what it is. I no longer fight it, I accept it fully. And now here's the tricky thing. This, quote, weakness of surrendering has made me stronger than I would be with willpower. Because surrender doesn't run out in the same way. Now, for most of us, like myself, I'll be able to use surrender for so long and then my old habits of discipline kick in. But like discipline, surrender, it grows in strength the more we practice it. So we can just release. I mean, there's a fair amount of what I could call pain on my bare feet and on my butt right now. If I resist that, it hurts. If I don't, it's just a sensation. Just a sensation. that is the key and essential thing to understand. That's the difference between discipline and surrender. Is that the one saps our energy. The other one, it does not sap our energy in the same way. It has its own energy reserve. And then when that energy reserve runs out, then we can tap into our willpower discipline after that. But surrender also has the potential with many things in our life to essentially not use any energy. So for the things in my life, the emotional things, for instance, that used to take discipline and willpower for me to try to resist, by surrendering to them, the whole issue resolves. It is infinitely more powerful than discipline for this reason, because often the only problem we're experiencing is a self-created one. An example would be if I'm upset with, let's say, Mirabelle because she's being loud. If I can surrender to that, then I can appreciate and love her for the way she is, the way she's manifesting at the moment. And the whole problem that I would have had to use discipline to resist has evaporated through surrender. Another key point for both surrender and discipline is to recognize that there are two ways of encountering a problem or something, a challenge, that is asking me to use discipline or surrender. I'll use the sugar again. If I think, wow, I've got a month of no sugar ahead of me, I start invoking discipline right now. I'm thinking about it, and I'm having to resist the mental pain that I've created of thinking about the sugar, and I'm draining my cup. But the reality, if we can look at it carefully, is that the only time I actually have to drain my cup and use discipline is when I'm actually having a sugar craving. So I have the choice to go all day long and fight it, or I can tune in, become mindful, and say, usually I don't have to use any discipline or surrender at all. Nothing. It's awesome. Suddenly we're completely freed and we have much more discipline to work with. When I see that pastry and it starts to make my mouth water and I start to feel the craving, that is the time then that I need to invoke some discipline. I'm going to drain my cup a little bit. Or, here's how surrender works. I stop and I say, what does that sensation, that craving actually feel like? If you tune into what that craving actually feels like, you're going to find that it is not nearly as strong and overwhelming as you would otherwise imagine. Our mind, our discipline resistance, builds it up and makes it seem like a dragon. But the actual sensation of craving is not that strong, and it will usually pass in a very short duration. So the key here is being in the moment. Whatever your challenge is, if you're trying to quit smoking, I can resist it all day long and fight it. I've got to make it through this day. I've got to make it through this day. There goes my reserves. Or I can say, all right, I don't even need to think about this until I actually have a craving. Then if I can be mindful of that craving, oh, now I really want a cigarette. That's the time to invoke that discipline, or invoke the surrender, even better yet. And you're going to be using much less. This is the key to making discipline work for you, is realizing that it's in the moment. Realizing that you have to set it up wisely so that you continually grow and grow and grow your stock of discipline. And remembering that there's always a choice to use surrender. And if you choose to use surrender, you're going to discover this entirely new route to take on challenges that gives you so much more transformative power in your life. Please share how you invoke discipline. What have you learned about discipline in your life? How does it work best for you? Oh, and Rebecca said, point out to people when you're setting things up wisely. For instance, again, with the sugar, set yourself up to win. Don't surround yourself on day 1, 2, 3 with all kinds of sugary things. Get those things out of the house. Use that wisdom to set it up so each time you're going to win and you can grow your your jar, your store a little bit stronger. So again, share in the comments anything related to discipline, how you have invoked this and shifted this in your life, and have you experienced surrender? What does that hold for you? Love to you all, my friends. Thank you for watching. I cannot wait to see what you have to say in the comments.